the Sofa with Esther. Every Sunday, a place where legends and stars hang out, sharing untold stories and unforgettable moments. So get cozy and relax into inspiring conversations that you won't hear anywhere else.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to On the Sofa with Esther on the Where Are They Now series. Well, I've interviewed many amazing people to date, and another one that's going to be added to be Anthony, little Anthony. And it's so amazing that I called him literally 2 hours ago to introduce myself. And then he goes, when do you want to interview me? And I said, could you do it in an hour? And he goes, so good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Glad to be doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, little Anthony, I usually ask my guests, who is little Anthony in a nutshell, in a coconut shell, or in a peanut shell? Who are you?
I'm a saloon singer. I was raised up in smoky rooms and smoky bars and smoky clubs, and that makes me a saloon singer. I'm in good company because Frank Sinatra always considered himself a saloon singer.
Okay. Brilliant. And this is funny because as I talked to you, I interviewed Sonny Turner earlier, and he's got a song, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. So, there's something around that. So, little Anthony, just tell us a little bit about your journey into the music industry. Because in 1957, a doo-wop group known as the Chesters existed with certain members, and then things developed from there. So could you just give me an insight?
Let me just set the record straight. That word doo-wop does not really explain who we are. That's a phrase, for some reason, somebody didn't know how to call that kind of music. We called the street corner music. And that's why all of the great groups of the 50s and early 60s always know ourselves as. And then plus the body of work that I've done. I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they didn't put me in as a doo-wop group. I didn't get nominated for that. And they got inducted as a contemporary R&B group. And that's really who we are. And 90% of the black groups of those days, really, that's what they were. They took that word and from a song, I think it was a group by the Elegance. I can't remember, but back in 58 or 59, and they did a background thing called doo-wop, doo-wop, doo-wop. And America always has to label things. I mean, just can't leave things alone. That's the way they understand it. If they don't label it, then they have no idea what it is. Therefore, it bothers them, whoever that is. So they gave that name. So, no, we were just a street corner bunch of kids out of Brooklyn who were just singing songs. And the songs at that time and era were a lot of love songs, as you know.
Yes.
And because we were just really living out our own lives, but we were the street corner singers. After that, we did some of the greatest music in the world. In fact, "Tears on My Pillow" was a crossover. It was a pop song. It was if anybody could find it on the original charts of Billboard and here in America, and all of those people that cover that kind of stuff, it was considered a pop song. No, we're not a doo-wop group. Or at least what we did, Going On My Head and Hurt So Bad and Take Me Back, produced by Don Costa. It would make Don Costa roll over in his grave if he thought that's what they called it.
Okay, that's fine.
It was.
Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for that clarity. I guess, sometimes when you do your research, you've got to do triple and double research, but thank you so much.
That's a phrase, for some reason, somebody didn't know how to call that kind of music. We called the street corner music. And that's why all of the great groups of the 50s and early 60s always know ourselves as. And then plus the body of work that I've done. I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they didn't put me in as a doo-wop group. I didn't get nominated for that. I got inducted as a contemporary R&B group, and that's really who we are. And 90% of the black groups of those days, really, that's what they were. They took that word and from a song, I can't remember, but back in it was a group, I think, now with the Elegance. I can't remember, but back in 58 or 59, and they did a background thing called doo-wop, doo-wop, doo-wop. and we just, in America always has to label things. I mean, just can't leave things alone. That's the way they understand it. If they don't label it, then they have no idea what it is. Therefore, it bothers them, whoever that is. So they gave that name. So we were just a street corner bunch of kids out of Brooklyn who were just singing songs, and the songs at that time and era were a lot of love songs, as you know, and because we were just really living out our own, but we were the street corner singers. After that, we did some of the greatest music in the world. In fact, Tears in My Pillow was a crossover. It was a pop song. It was, if anybody could find it on the original charts of Billboard and here in America, and all of those people that cover that kind of stuff, it was considered a pop song. So, no, we're not a doo-wop. What we did, Going On My Head and Hurt So Bad and Take Me Back, produced by Don Costa, it would make Don Costa roll over in his grave if he thought that's what they called it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for that clarity. I guess, sometimes when you do your research, you've got to do triple and double research, but thank you so much. Little Anthony, you've, throughout your career, can you share how did you manage fame? Were you prepped for it beforehand? Was it your faith? Did you have parents that supported you in a certain aspect? How were you prepared for the fame that came into your life?
No, I wasn't. My father was influential in my life. My father was a jazz musician, played with a lot of the big bands of the 40s. And my mother was a gospel singer with her sisters, Holy Nazareth Baptist gospel singers. By the way, as I'm here, I'm out of the Hawk, and I have a book out that talks about that in detail. It's called Little I'm Here, I'm Out of the Hawk, My Journey, My Destiny. If anybody's interested, you can go on Amazon and all them places. Yeah, and you can get more detail. But my musical choices today are, I was raised up in jazz, I was raised up in bebop, I was raised up in all that kind of stuff. And I was also influenced in classical music by my musical teacher in school. Her name was Ethel Mannix, and she was the one that started me into classical music that led me into opera. Now, people don't really realize that I'm a big opera fan. Actually, I'm trying to plan a trip to La Scala in Italy to listen to some Puccini and Verdi and all of these kind of things that I love. And it's because this woman instilled that in kids in those days, and some of them took to it and some of them didn't. I actually took to it. So my mother, many influences that were in my life. And there were singers that were influences like Nat Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, Frankie Lyman and Teenagers, Sarah Vaughan, just a lot of people, Sinatra, and Tony Bennett, the Flamingos, the Moonglow, Orioles, all those people were influential in the creation of where I was going, the path that I was taking. I didn't know why I was taking that path, but that's where it was laid out for me. So I was influenced by those things. But I didn't plan it. I don't think anybody in show business plans anything. Maybe they do today. It's a different kind of thing. Maybe they do today. It's a different kind of thing. But in those days, we would have paid you to sing. You know what I mean? You just want to have fun. And notice that there was a lot of girls. You really got the attention of the ladies, and that was fun. And so you didn't really think. At 60 years, I started singing in 55, I think? I don't know. That I would be in this business for over 60 years. Wow. I thought you were crazy. No, there was no planning. It was just a process. And, no, there was no planning. It was just a process. And I think I realized who I was, and that what I had was later on in my life, in my early 30s, that I realized, my goodness, this is my career. This is what I do. And then I started taking it much more seriously.
And you shared quite a lot then, but how did you actually feel about when you recognized in your early 30s that this was the field that I'm supposed to be in? How did that make you feel in terms of, seeing it as a long-term career?
Anybody can understand that. Frightening, because I said, my goodness, this is what I do. I'm not going to be a rocket scientist. So now what do I do? Well, I can sing.
Yes.
And people seem to like that. And I tell people, many times people will come up to me and ask me, oh, what did you do to people? Many times people will come up to me and ask me, oh, what did you do to sing like that? What did you, oh my goodness. I said, no, nothing I did, because everything I did was wrong back when I was a young man. Believe me, I shouldn't be able to sing this song. I said, it's not natural to sing the way I do. It's supernatural. And I said, there's this God that loves me, that gave me this, and it's his. You know, it just keeps going on. At my age, it fascinates me.
And now that we're talking about your voice, little Anthony, could you give us a little bit of a rendition so that I can actually vouch for that?
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot. Okay, I'll do something. Well, I think I'm going out of my head. Yes, I think I'm going out of my head. Over you, over you. That's one of them. And got a band, man.
And that's funny because that's the track that was in my head. So there is some synchronicity there. And Anthony, what was it like sharing the stage with the other band members? You know, what were dynamics between you like?
Well, the dynamic with kids together. And a lot of the Imperials are not with us anymore. Two of them passed on. And then two retired. So the only one left is Ernest Wright, who was the original, who actually formed the group before I even got in it, when they were known as the Chesters. Because you got camaraderie, you got friends, good times, all the bad times, but you're not facing it alone.
Yes.
You're facing it with kids that you came up with, your buddies, you know. So that's the reason why that worked out like that. But also, it's the artists and other performers that you had the great pleasure of working with. And I can tell you that I can't even tell you. It would take me to tell you all the people that I had the pleasure, and all of us, to work with. You know, from Ray Charles to Lil Willie John to so many people, the Flamingos, the Moonglows, Moms Mabley, the comedian, Betts Fox, Mabley, the comedian, Betts Fox, Bill Cosby, on and on and on and on and on. We were able to not only sing with them, in many cases we're friends with them. Sammy Davis Jr., gosh, you know, it's an amazing, when I think about it, it's fantastic. And all of the different actresses and actors and people that we were exposed to. You gotta understand, we were kids out of Brooklyn, man. We were ghetto kids, man. We lived along the. It's almost like Liverpool. We lived along the docks of the East River.
Okay.
You know, in New York City, it's exactly like Liverpool. It was a blue collar sort of naval place, and merchant mariners would, you know, ships would come in and drop their goods, go out, and go back. So we got to meet, you know, as kids, we just, that was our life. We didn't figure anything more than that. It just happened, like I said, we got together like a lot of these kids do today, urban kids, and now they're rapping and they're doing their rap thing. We got together like the kids in Compton, you know, that got together, all those famous rappers, and the ones in Brooklyn. And so that's the same theory. We just started singing. It's no different than the Beatles. Yes. It's no different than the Beatles. Yes, it's just that they were from Liverpool and we were from Brooklyn.
Brilliant. So Anthony, where are you today? What are you doing today? You are still performing. If you'd like to share, you know, some of the gigs that are coming up for you, and how since you started out.
Well, that's a natural progression. That's the way it is. I remember my dad. In those days, it was big band, and then there was you know, blues.
Yes.
And so it changed again and again and again and again. And then it became R&B, and then they moved. Every generation has its music. That's all. Yeah. This generation has the things that they like. It's a normal progression. I never like to answer people. Sometimes when they ask me, "Well, the music was really great in your day." I like to think it was in the '60s. Of course, it was. It was a Motown and English Invasion and Dionne Warwick and the Drifters, myself, and a bunch of other people. Yeah, it was very special. But I'm sure there are a lot of people today think the same way.
That's right.
Beyonce, this one and that. And so I never understand what the generation has its own music, and that's what it is today.
Yes, definitely. And, you know, in winding down, you shared a bit about the book that you've currently got out, which looks at your life and your journey. What prompted you to write a book? is it, Anthony?
I didn't really want to because everybody was doing it. You know, it's like a me book, with autobiographies. And, I didn't. It took years. Finally, a young lady by the name of Miss Cregan, and she was a writer, and she convinced me, we need to sit down and you the things you know in your mind, man, we can put that down. You have a tremendous memoirs, and I have this really gift of total recall. I just remember what people actually said, when, what, the date.
Yes.
And so she thought that was a good idea. So we got together and we started doing that. Basically, I didn't have any idea other than the fact that I was just really putting down my memoirs. And it's doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. And so it's the real details of what I went through. What I went through doing the Jim Crow area in the South. It was horrible. It was a terrible time, Is the equivalent, actually, maybe even worse than apartheid. I don't know, man. It was bad. And I had to be a part of that as a young man who was not used to that because I was a northeastern industrial kid out of Brooklyn, New York, which didn't have blatant segregation. It may have been that around, it was so subtle, nobody noticed it, but down in the South, anything below Virginia and on, it was just brutal. It was just literally tell you can't do this, you can't do that. You go to a black bathroom, we said colored. Or you go to a white bathroom, or you couldn't eat at the counter, you had to order stuff. It was crazy. When you go to the movies, you sat up in the balcony because all the white folks sat down at the bottom. So that's in the book. Okay. And it tells all those tough times, but also there were wonderful times. From friendships that I met, even those who passed away, from Bo Diddley to Laverne Baker to Ruth Brown, on and on and on. Ray Charles, those are the very good things that make me think and say, this is good. I'm very blessed I've been able to be a part of this kind of things that make me think and say, this is good. I'm very blessed I've been able to be a part of this kind of business. And like anything, they're good and bad, and that was the bad part. But the good part was I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. And to this day, some that are still here are still friends.
Fantastic. And in winding down, in your lifespan, whether that's people you met or whether that's experiences, you've just shared a couple of experiences, and the names of some people that you've met. But what are one of those, or maybe a couple of experiences that really stand out and that made an impact on your life and how you viewed life?
There are a lot. And if you got 2 days,
I better buy the book.
So, there's a lot of things that happened that were just so special and only enforced me to go on.
Yes.
I just remember so many things. And I remember doing a concert with the New York Philharmonic Orchestra at Avery Hall at Lincoln Center in New York City with Dionne Warwick. Burt Bacharach and Hal David was conducting. Burt Bacharach was conducting for her, and it was the black tie night. And I have the 62-piece orchestra behind me. This is something you can't explain. And they be in Avery Hall. That's where the greats, Pavarotti, and all the greats, the Mingus, and all the greats have sung. And to have that honor to be there, you can't top it. And also friendships. The friendship of Sammy Davis was pretty cool. And Red Fox was like I call him my road father, my second father. So there's so many things that I could talk about, but it would take long, and it really would. But that's just some of the things that I remember fondly.
And if there was one thing you can leave the listeners with in terms of following their dreams, what would that piece of advice be?
The advice is that if you have a passion for something, that tells you something about yourself. If you find comfort and joy in what your work is, that is passion, and that's what you follow. I've asked people, ask me many times, what does it feel like to be working as a singer? I said, I don't work.
Yes.
You doesn't feel like to be working as a singer? I said, I don't work.
Yes.
You work.
Yes.
I sing. It's not work. That comes natural, and I enjoy doing it. Because I know a lot of people go to work and they dread the day they have to get up in the morning and go.
That's right.
Not me. I'm glad to sing. I can't wait to get to the stage. Of course, it is today a little more hard. It's not really fun. But when you get on stage, it's just another world.
Yes.
It's just wonderful. So if you have something you want to follow, you seek out that. Do you have passion for what you're doing? Do you believe what you're doing? To the point where, you get to the point where it's just like, I don't care if I eat. I'm going to eat. I'm going to do this.
That's right.
And that's when it works.
That's right, definitely. Oh, it's been brilliant. I've had such an amazing day interviewing so many amazing people, and you've just really topped my day off, little Anthony, with your words of inspiration and your quirkiness. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Well, once again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and for sharing. Yeah, just keep on keeping on, keep on inspiring, keep on singing, and keep on doing what you love. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
I would love
Best.
Bless your heart, dear. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.